Today we're talking with a producer that made a fabulous web series comedy that features zombies and Debbie Gibson. All that and more today on the Fly Filmmaking.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talks on the Fly Filmmaking.
Welcome to another episode of On the Fly Filmmaking, a part of Popcorn Talk University. I'm your host, Marielou Mandl. Thank you so much for joining us again. And today we've got a really special treat. We've got Brian Beacock with us, who is the writer, producer, and star of Acting Dead. And a little tidbit for you guys to know up front, I also was an associate producer on this, so I've got some inside track on this, and it's very close to my heart. I love this project. Welcome on the show, Brian.
Thank you for having me. I don't think Debbie Gibson has probably ever had an intro like that.
Yeah?
So I'm going to make sure she knows about it, because that's pretty darn funny.
Yeah.
Zombies and Debbie Gibson.
Yeah, of course. She's like one of my favorite parts of the show.
Right? She's awesome. She's awesome.
So awesome. Yes, so we're going to talk to you today about the production side of Acting Dead. And so on the Fly Filmmaking, we talk about tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes scenarios where the people who made the movie or the web series had to come up with solutions on the fly. Yes. And I think that we've come to the conclusion that no matter what level of production you're on, you're going to have to come up with solutions on the fly, whether you're making something with 2 pennies or 2 million pennies.
It's absolutely true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In fact, I was working just last year on the CW show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and they have a slightly larger budget than we had for Acting Dead, but there's problems every day.
Yeah.
And not ones that are, astronomical or destroy the show, but everyone's got them. And as you say, it doesn't matter what budget you're working with. You're always probably just beyond or just to the end of your budget.
Yeah, there's always that one thing, and there's some things that money can't buy when you need to do it right now.
Time.
Yeah.
Always, time or people or resources or talent, unfortunately.
Yeah. You just have to make it happen.
That's right.
Awesome. So let's tell our audiences here where they can find you on social media.
Okay. So you can find me on Twitter at Brian Beacock, and also on my new Instagram, which is pretty awesome. Both my followers are very excited about it.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. That's at Brian Beacock as well. And then the show, you can go to actingdead.com, and you can see all the episodes there. We just released all our episodes, season 1.
Yes, that's really great.
And you can also buy stuff, if you want shirts or hats.
What kind of stuff?
Well, let's see. We've got pens, which are awesome, for signing all those checks.
Oh my gosh, these are great.
And then, of course, we've got the hat. Every successful show has to have a hat. That's for you.
Oh, that's so great.
Awesome? But we've got mugs and shirts and bags and iPhone covers and all that stuff.
And it's so great. I think I want to do this in a giveaway. So if you guys are interested in this fabulous Acting Dead hat, then tweet at me and tell me why you deserve it, and tell me why you love zombies.
Right. Did someone eat your brain and you need a hat to cover it?
Yeah, that could be really awesome. So make sure you send that over my way, and then we can get you a hat.
You just want 2 hats. You just want me to give you another hat now that you're
That's for me. I'm going to give it to your other Instagram follower.
Okay.
We're going to share together.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Your mom and I both going to wear those hats.
Yeah.
So before we get into Acting Dead specifically, I want to talk about your history in the entertainment industry and like how you got to the point where you're producing a web series of your own.
Gotcha. Well, I started 100 years ago, and in theater, back in LA, back in San Francisco, I was in the national tour of Les Miserables, and then I came to LA. I'm like, hey man, I got an equity contract under my belt. I'm going to be a big star. And they're like, well, have you been in the Cosby Show? That's all I cared about. That's how old it was. So I did a little bit of struggling in LA, but I did some movies and some TV and plays and stuff. Worked at Universal and the Beetlejuice show, if anyone saw that show, for 15 years.
Also was in a movie where he's in bed with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Buying the Cow. You got to check it out. It was really fun. And Ryan Reynolds, this is, pre-Blade, so he was, thin. But that was really fun to show up on set and just jump on top and say, hey, I'm Brian, let's go.
That's what we all want to do.
Exactly. So I did that, and then started the whole voiceover stuff. I just kind of fell into that through a friend of mine from Universal, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who was directing Digimon, and I got the lead role in season 3 of Digimon, and that kind of started this whole other career.
Yeah.
So that's been like my moneymaker, and it's really fun. It's a great, pretty much low stress job that I've been able to continue for like 17 years now.
Yeah, you guys really should look up Brian Beacock on the internet and see all of the voices that he does.
Yeah.
And also there was a video game that I played once that I found out later that Brian was the voice of the second version, like the second the sequel of
Tales
the game.
of Symphonia, right?
Tales of Symphonia, and there's this hilarious
Lloyd Irving.
video online of like Hitler being mad at Brian replacing the original.
The fans were not happy that I replaced the original guy, which happens all the time. And I didn't know about this. And Marielou comes over to my house and she goes, "You have to see this video of Hitler like dogging you." So I watched. It's brilliant. It's so funny.
Yeah, because it's one of those dubs of another movie, and it's
great.
funny. You find it. I'll post it on my Twitter so you guys can see that as
Yes.
well. Awesome. So before Acting Dead, you did another web series that was really fabulous. That was McCracken Live.
Yeah, McCracken Live, which is basically a combination between Home Improvement and Tootsie. So it's a guy through a series of events finds himself having to host a DIY television show dressed as a woman. And everything goes wrong and things blow up and burn down and all that stuff. And he becomes very successful begrudgingly because, you know, he's a really talented DIY guy, but he has to dress as a woman. So that show went all over the world and played a bunch of festivals and pitching it to TV and a live show. So that kind of was my foray into web series, and I really loved it. I loved producing and acting and doing all that stuff. And then Acting Dead came along because I thought, well, zombies are hot, you know, always have been and always will be. And I wanted to kind of produce a show a new way and really do it like a TV show. Have a bigger budget, bigger cast, and I wrote the script pretty quickly, and we just pulled the trigger and off we went, which was a scary, wild ride, which continues daily.
So with McCracken Live, that was kind of in the timeline of where web series were kind of still new.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Festivals were, scarce, and we were really lucky to get into a lot of them. And we went to Marseille, which was the first web series festival in Europe ever. We got to go to that, which was awesome. So yeah, it was kind of a new world. And as web series continue to change and the model begins to change, it still is a new world because we don't know where it's going, but it's going very quickly.
Yeah.
So, hopefully Acting Dead is going to ride that wave into the new
And it is
world.
going into a really exciting new world because, before we get into showing the trailer of Acting Dead, I want to talk about how you are now up for Emmy consideration.
Yes. The Emmys, Primetime Emmys this year have opened a new category called the short form category, which is typically things on the web, 15 minutes or less, your episodes, and I think at least 6 episodes in a season. So we fell into the eligibility window and category, and we are now in what's called the 4-year consideration period, where we're trying to get Emmy voters to vote for our show to get us a nomination. Then there's a whole nother section of 4-year consideration to actually win.
Yes.
This is something I knew nothing about.
Right.
I thought people just got nominated and I didn't know how. But it's a lot of work just to get to that stage. So
Right.
that's what we're
I
at.
never realized you had to campaign.
You have to campaign. You have to spend money.
Yeah.
Well, so we spent a little bit. But that's why it's so important to follow us on Twitter and to tweet things like, Acting Dead, hashtag FYC for your consideration for a Primetime Emmy short form category. It's really helpful to have the awareness, the zombie awareness out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So-
if you guys haven't seen Acting Dead yet or you're interested in watching it again, go to actingdead.com. You can watch the whole series and then tweet about it.
Please.
With the hashtag of what?
FYC. You can do hashtag Emmys 2016. You can also attach at the Emmys so they know that you're talking about it. All that stuff really helps the show.
Yeah, that's all super helpful. And I always love to support fellow indie filmmakers, because
Yeah.
you guys are watching this for cool information, and we want to get web series and indie filmmaking as a mainstream thing that people look at and love to see.
Yeah, and this really helps with the Emmys. This is huge. This is revolutionary.
Yeah,
and
it's the first year of this.
First year, so it would be so awesome to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
I'm excited about it too. And now let's check out the trailer for Acting Dead.
Are you an actor?
You're not booking.
I think I just haven't found the right material.
You kind of have that desperate vibe,
Maybe acting is just not your thing.
We're really looking for something a lot more authentic than that.
I should die.
Congratulations on choosing Flatline Inc. Getting actors work even if it kills them.
I don't think it worked. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, my bad.
It's gonna be big. Just gotta figure out how to handle the smell,
Are you following me?
I'm a freaking ghost.
Very pushy.
Thanks.
Asking favors and very pushy.
Stay away.
kidney.
Oh, that's the spooky bullshit right there.
This, and this.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, sounds good, huh?
What an icky mess.
Don't worry. It's only going to hurt a little, but forever.
Has anyone done it before?
Yes, Justin Bieber's a client.
I mean, successfully?
Then no.
Love Lori Allen. That's Lori Allen from Family Guy,
my
Diane
gosh.
Simmons, and a bunch of stuff. She's brilliant.
So much fun. And you can see from the trailer that there are a lot of recognizable faces. So I definitely want to get into that.
Yeah, we will, for sure.
Get into that in a little bit. But let's talk about some of the on-the-fly situations you came up with during the shoot of Acting Dead.
Yeah.
So one of the things with a lot, like all projects, is dealing with locations.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and unfortunately, the shows that I like to watch and the way that I like to write, and McCracken Live was the same way, is I like to write cutaways, flashbacks, flash forwards, flash sideways, and it involves a lot of locations for typically 1 or 2 lines. So when we shot the show, we block shot it like a movie, so we had to shoot out the location and move on in a 3-week period of time. We had to find locations that satisfied a lot of different sets at one time. So we shot at a couple TV studios, a couple film studios, and then we did what's called a company move, where you would start at 5 a.m, shoot a little bit, move somewhere else, then move again. And that takes up time, and that takes up money, and I'm shooting like 15, 16 pages a day, which is, if you know that, that's insane. So yeah, a lot of locations, and I just like the way it looks. I think it adds a bigger scope to a show, and it looks expensive. And in the greater scheme of things, our show is not expensive. It was to me. You know, I have no more retirement fund, but it wasn't in comparison to what other people are spending. So.
Right. So on an indie level, you need to be very resourceful with where you're shooting. So I know a lot of the locations that we have, like this one here is Flatline Inc. It's all white here. This location, that's really all we used in that spot. Oh no, there was 2 spots. This same room was 2 different things.
Yes, that we turned it around, and we made that with different lighting and stuff. That was the room where Tate goes and gets the zombie transformation. Now you're seeing all the shots up here, so there's a lot of locations. That right there served as, I think, 3 different locations in the day. That was Cherry Studios, I think. And then we had one before of the living room, the green living room. That's Coco Brown, the green living room. So that has 3 different sets in that house. And luckily, we found that house and didn't have to paint it. That's how they had it decorated. They were insane.
Yeah, because it's somebody's residence. It's also a set for a cereal commercial.
Yes, set for a cereal commercial, and it's a bedroom set. It's this set which we use a couple times, so that really, we got a lot of bang for our buck that day. But as I'm saying, we have to shoot out a location, so we had to shoot every scene that takes place in all those locations
Over the course of the whole
series. Yeah, so it was 8 episodes that we had to shoot out, whereas opposed to McCracken Live, where I shot 8 webisodes in a day.
Okay.
They're still great. They're great, but it was a lot of dialogue and less cutaways. And
Gotcha.
Stuff. This is at a film studio in, I think it's Chatworth, I'm not sure. And we actually weren't supposed to be in this side of the studio that day. I think they said we could use the kitchen to store things, and we took that to mean use the whole place.
Yeah, but there was I know there was the dressing room. We utilized this as a casting room. Also something for there was a sitcom kitchen.
A mock sitcom kitchen. We had a hospital set, a couple rehearsal rooms. We really used the heck out of that place.
Yeah, really good facility.
And again, I think we were there one day. Because, you're also not just the locations, but you're dealing with cast.
Yeah.
And stars, and even not stars, just people have a schedule. And if you're not paying a lot of money, everyone's doing favors, even if they're getting paid, you know, with the new media budget. So it's a lot of wrangling, a lot of Tetris stuff.
And would you say that you like the style of shooting a web series season like a movie?
I do. I mean, I know a lot of people in the web series community, friends of mine, they shoot an episode, maybe an episode a month. So that's great. they probably shoot in locations that they have locked down. It's like, it's always my apartment. It's always Jerry's backyard, you know, so it's easier that way. We were renting a 2-ton grip truck, you know, from Wooden Nickel with a lot of equipment, a lot of cameras, up to 100 people, cast and crew. So you're not going to do that every month. You can't. You have to do it, forget about it, get it out of your life, you know? So I would rather shoot it like this and have your whole season done than live that life of, as you know, your apartment being a mess for an entire year. I can't do it.
No. You want to be able to go home at the end.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So in addition to having locations that you purchase or you're renting out, sometimes you need to be extra resourceful and just shoot places you're not supposed to be shooting.
Well, you can shoot there with a permit.
Right. And if you don't have a permit because of time or money, sometimes you just have to do it.
And then it's called run and gun.
Run and gun, which is like definitely super on the fly thing. Like that is like the definition of on the fly.
Yes.
Run and gun. So there's a shot of the main character on Hollywood Boulevard. So tell me about what happened in that scenario.
Okay, so the shot is really funny. It's his agent, Tate Blodgett, who I play. His agent says no one will hire you, and it's basically lifted from the movie Tootsie, where his manager says, you know, Michael, no one will hire you, and he goes, oh yeah, and then you see him as Tootsie walking down the street. So my agent says no one's going to hire me for anything, even to be a zombie, and then you see me made up as a zombie. I'm not quite yet a zombie here. I'm going to an audition. And I'm walking down Hollywood Boulevard. Well, and you probably can't tell, but there's 3 policemen behind us. And they weren't watching us because there's so much going on. And frankly, it's Hollywood Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a zombie, big deal. No, you've got Jack Sparrow and you've got, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
And you could just look like that.
You could just look like that. And we didn't have any lights because it's, day, which is fine. But we had a larger camera that we were using for the show that needed to do all the pushes and pulls and stuff, like on Parks and Rec and stuff. So we couldn't use a little DSLR for our show. We couldn't bring that camera out because that's just,
it's a massive camera.
It's a giveaway. So we used a DSLR, and I guess the DP shot raw or whatever, just high res. So then he can go into editing and finesse it and move it around to make it look like the other cameras.
Right.
So we were just a zombie, about 10 or 15 extras, which we had all over the place, not talking to each other. And we shot this scene, me walking down the street and then falling, similar to what Dustin Hoffman does.
Right.
So it was nerve-wracking. And this was also on a company move day. So we had also shot the gym that morning, and we were going off to shoot another location after this. You've got parking, you've got crew, you've got location, people walkie-talkie. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's a lot to coordinate.
It's a lot to coordinate and a lot to, you're not going to do it 10 times. Because, of course, we had a permit.
Yep, of course.
Right?
Absolutely.
But the shot turned out exactly how I wanted it. And then the music, which Jamie Forsythe, who writes for Bones, did the score to the show. And he did this little, what's called a sound-alike to Tootsie, which I love. And it ended up being perfect, and it's exactly what I wanted when I wrote it.
Yeah, and it worked out really well, and the way that they mixed the shots, I think in most projects, you're going to have sprinkled in of different kinds of cameras.
Right. Even when I did McCracken, we had, because she was always on TV, so we would go from a 16:9 shot, which was her world, and then we'd go to a old 4:3 shot when she was on TV. We may have used the same camera for that, but we definitely had a different look.
Right.
It was really consistent, except for, I think, episode 5 where he's having a nightmare. We went very George Romero, grainy. That actually may have even been shot on a DSLR, too.
Yeah.
Up at the LA Zoo. You were there.
Yeah. I recommended that location.
The day after we wrapped, we go, hey, 4 a.m. makeup call. Everyone's like, what the hell? And we shot that at the old LA Zoo, which was insane.
Yeah, which is a really cool spot. If you guys are in LA and you haven't been there, check that out. That's for all your horror movie needs. But I did not tell you could shoot there.
Right? Because you'll need a permit.
Yeah, so really cool. So in addition to locations, you have to deal with effects, especially this one. You've got some paranormal stuff happening.
Right, because while I become a zombie, and that's just all basically makeup, my cohort in this, Alex, played by Gillian Clare, she stays in the machine too long, turning into a zombie, and she actually dies and becomes a ghost.
Yeah, and if you guys have seen other episodes of On the Fly Filmmaking, she actually came onto the show with Kobe Mann talking about Advent.
Yeah. And she's a great actress and very funny, and she plays a character who just hates her life. I mean, it's not very different from Jillian, but she's really dry and wry and funny. And so we had all these ghost effects that we had to do. And, we didn't have our crew in place for post when we shot this. So we didn't know who our post effects guy would be. But fortunately, we had a DP who knew enough of how to do it.
Right. So you could shoot it correctly.
We could shoot it sort of correctly.
Right, because we've got a shot of a cereal that's floating around.
Yeah, the cereal floating around
which is like old school fishing wire.
It was on a stick with fishing wire. And it just took forever because it's got to hang the right way and it's got to float. There it is.
Yeah.
So off screen, there's a guy with a, probably a broom handle, and then that's connected with fishing wire. And Jason Murphy, our guy who did the effects, had to remove all the wire, and he had to do a lot in this show.
Yeah.
Because we were crazy with fishing line. We loved it.
We're like, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out later.
Fine. And it was. But not for him.
Not for him.
It was fine for me.
And I actually, for another project that I did for Roommate Horror Story, I wanted to have a remote control floating, like a ghost is holding this remote control. So I did broomstick with fishing wire, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll figure it out later. And then you actually, because of the way the lighting was, nothing was reflecting on it. You can't tell it's we didn't do anything extra.
Right. You can light it in such a way that it makes it easier.
Which was a pure accident.
Which is why it's nice to have your effects guy in place in the beginning, because he can be on set and say, no, do this, do that, Instead, we just made him do some Adobe After Effects or whatever.
And he's so good.
He's so good, and it looks phenomenal. And we actually have won a couple awards for the effects on the show, which is awesome.
Right on, yeah. So then, in addition to your effects guy, you want to get good people for your crew, but you want to have good people for your cast as well.
Important.
It's super, super important. Not only talented, but you had mentioned before that if you have the possibility of doing this, you want to cast up. So explain that.
Yeah, well, I'm at the place in my career, and who knows, may always be where casting up will always be a necessity if I'm the lead. And this is something for, burgeoning filmmakers to consider, and actors and stuff, that you're going to have to pitch your show. You're going to have to try to sell your show. And, I'm not the guy that people are going to buy tickets for yet, But if I'm surrounded with people, then that's what you have to do. Plus, we're in the world of Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. You want to find people that have a big social media following. In fact, a lot of movies right now and TV shows, it's in their contract that they have to tweet and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because there's so much competition out there. There's so much content. So I did cast up, and as you see on screen right now, there is a singer-songwriter, Grammy winner Debbie Gibson.
Yes.
And she was so excited to play Roberta, the waitress, because she'd never had a regular job. She's been singing since she was, born. And she was really awesome and really cool and went for it. And but yeah, we've got Carolyn Hennessy from True Blood and Cougar Town General Hospital, Patrika Darbo, who's also up for an Emmy nomination, Jillian Clare, who's done tons of stuff as well. Shawn Kanan, Eric Martzoff, Emmy winner, Peter Vogt, who was on Hannah Montana. I'm trying to think of who I'm missing. John J. York, Coco Brown from Tyler Perry movies and stuff, Christine Lankin from Step by Step, and she's got a bunch of stuff. So we were littered with a great cast.
Yeah.
Now, what comes with that is, how do you get them all on set?
How do you do it?
You have someone else do it.
How do you do it?
I didn't do it. My producer, Susan Bernhardt, was in charge of all that kind of stuff, which was great. And it's insane. So you've got, a 50-person crew and 50 cast members and all that stuff and locations. And then you've got someone who's working on General Hospital or Days of Our Lives or Chris Gallia from Disney's Jessie. So it's tough. And money's the key. Money will solve all those problems, because you can say, hey, here's $1,000 to make yourself available that day.
Right.
And keep it, even if we don't use you.
Right.
We don't have that.
No, that's not a luxury in this scenario. That's not a luxury.
It's not.
No.
So it's favors, and people, everyone that worked with us, bent over backwards to make it happen. It was really great. And my team was awesome. Paul Nigro, who was my co-exec producer, did a lot of the stuff that I didn't even know he was doing, because I was on set acting and stuff. Acting, whatever. I had makeup on and contact lenses. But, solving the behind-the-scenes problems is a huge part of it, making everyone happy.
Yes, definitely putting good people all around you. And,
have to. And
what I've kind of found working on more projects here and there is that everybody really wants to work on good things with good people. Because people love being on set.
Yeah.
And while people at a higher level, it might be harder to get them because of budgets if they are not behind the project. But when you've got good people who are making it and they feel a connection to it, people just want to make cool things.
Yeah, I completely agree. And especially in the world now where people are doing more things outside of the studio realm and the contracts and stuff like that with the web and all these indie things that everyone's doing, then you just got to be as the best you can be. And I really try hard to write parts for people that they're going to want to talk about, they're going to want to tweet about and share with people, you know. And make them funny and make them look good and stuff.
Yeah, and that goes for the actors as well as the crew because, like,
completely.
I mean, I just came to help out for a day, and then I was like, I love this. I want to help.
Yeah.
I'm here every day. What do you need?
And you were awesome.
Yeah.
And you always do that, though. You're always like the best help on a set anyway. But then she was dressed as this cocktail waitress.
Like a zombie
cocktail waitress. And she was phenomenal with, I mean, and she comes with outfits. She's got outfits. But then you also served as a co-producer and or associate producer.
Associate producer. Well, it's because like I came in and I was like, I'm going to help, and it was like a PA, and then I was like, no,
you had to
she's
get
like doing
producer
everything.
credit. You know what I mean? So see her on IMDb. But that's important, and that's another thing, like how to keep people happy. The cast, all our crew, which we probably had, or the cast, the background people, we probably had about 50 of them. And if you worked for 3 days with us under the SAG New Media contract, you would get your SAG eligibility, which means you can go spend, you know, $1,600 to buy your union card, whatever.
But if you want,
but
now
people,
you can.
Yeah, and people work hard to get into SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and that was something that we gave to them in addition to food and all that stuff. That was a big deal.
Right,
for a
and
lot
that's
of
doing
people.
something to create value in exchange. If you don't have money, you can do other things to create value.
Absolutely, and you know the old standby is make sure people are fed, which is great. You have to do that, and we had great food. That's another way we saved money.
Yeah,
Susan, my producer, cooked all the food, so we had really good cooked food every day.
Right, because you can put it like just like you're saving budget on your like personal eating budgets.
Yeah.
Like you can do that for a set. Like make the food.
Yeah,
you don't have to order catering every day. You can make pasta.
And red vines always.
Always.
I must. But yeah, so we had cast and crew that were happy, you know. That's
good.
Even on the 17-hour days.
Yes, but before you even got to that point, you lost some crew members.
Oh my gosh.
So that's an on-the-fly situation because you are dealing with people and you're at the mercy of their schedules and their personalities. This is like a very visually appealing kind of show. Like there's a lot of visual things, and there's an art director that dropped out at the beginning.
And I think I probably blocked his name out. I'm not sure I would say it anyway, but yeah, it's not real. But it did happen.
But it seemed like a happy accident because it ended up getting a new person.
Yeah, so
who was fabulous.
Yeah, so we had Shannon Fitzgerald, who was the associate or assistant art director, and she was with us the whole time, and she did a great job of decorating like Margot's office and things like that. But the last set that we had to shoot was Flatline Inc., where Tate goes to become a zombie.
And we have a photo of that. It's in the white room. That one right there. That's perfect.
You can see there all those televisions and all that crazy stuff. There's nothing on those TVs. Those are all taped out with green for the green screen, and then we added that in post. So we lost the guy who was going to build this. I wanted it to be very like Terry Gilliam, you know, crazy world. And he just stopped returning calls.
Just dropped out like off the face of the earth.
He didn't stop cashing checks. He cashed checks. So I had this friend, Danny Sistone from Universal Studios, who had worked with this band called Carbon 9 and had done a bunch of weird costumes and very futuristic kind of like space stuff. So I contacted him. He said, yeah, of course, I got all this stuff in my garage. Come by and take a look at it. Meanwhile, you're exhausted because you've been shooting all day. And so he comes to set and brings this huge like brain in the background you can see on screen, and all these wires, I mean just miles and miles of wires, sets the whole thing up, blacks out the screens with the green screen thing, and we film it, and it just looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then he packed it all up and took it back to his garage. His garage, by the way, for those that know, is like Fibber McGee's closet. It's filled with everything. It's Doc Brown action. And he's just this brilliant artist.
Right.
And so he came on board and really saved the show, because that's a great look, and it's exactly how I wanted the show to feel.
Yeah, I feel like that might have been better than what might have come from the other guy.
Completely was, because you know, as some people do, they skate by sometimes.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, he was in a roller rink for most of the show. Thank God for Shannon to kind of save it. And then Danny came along and really helped us out. So, but you just never know.
Right. And that's a big thing about filmmaking or producing anything, is you have to be willing to not let something like that derail your entire production. Where you're like, okay, this is terrible, but what can we come up with as a solution? You came up with a new person, ended up being great.
Day one of shooting, we lost the main actor for the next day.
Yeah.
Had a
for which character was this?
It was for the Peter Vogt character, Xavier LeBeau, and it was supposed to be Michael Nuri, who's a friend of mine from Flashdance movie, and he got bronchitis and he was just dead. And he's a great friend. He was very apologetic, but you know, it's 5 p.m. and we're shooting this big scene, and he's got so many lines. So I called Peter, who I knew from Universal, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm sure I could do it." And he came in, and as you'll see, I think it's in episode 5, killed it.
Yeah, he was so funny.
Won an award, the LA Indie Series Awards. But again, you have to adjust. You have to be ready to adjust.
So you have to be really malleable. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that you were doing everything.
Yeah.
So you're acting, you wrote it, you're producing it. You know, you have obviously a vision for this, but how do you move between those worlds?
Well, I did it fine. I'll do it better next time. But I definitely was smart enough, and thanks to Susan Bernhardt and Paul Nigro and you, I had enough people telling me when to go do your stuff. Go get into the makeup chair. Go learn your lines. Please learn your lines, Brian. But you have to. Like, if I had also taken on the task of directing, which people do, I wouldn't be ready for that for this show. Maybe next time. But you have to turn off certain parts of your brain and go do something else. But you always have this weird, like, clinical eye. You're watching, and sometimes you're not in it. You're watching.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough. I can't say how to do it. I just know that we made it through. But if you don't have your team, a strong team behind you, it'll be a disaster.
Yeah. And then it's keeping them happy. So, like, let me give you a scenario. Say, like, you know, you were expecting it to be a 12-hour day. We only have this location for one day. Yeah. But we have to finish here. You want to keep people for a little bit longer. What can you do to make them happy? Like, they've already ate. They're done. They're done eating.
Well, beer.
Beer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Paul Nigro. Thank you, Paul Nigro. But yeah, I mean, it happens, and you get people that have to leave or want to leave or are getting tired or frustrated. So you just have to be clever in how you turn things around and make people happy. Turn it into a party. You know what I mean? Because it's always stressful and it's always very tense and stuff. And there's a certain point where maybe everyone just snaps, and then it's fun again.
Yes.
You know, and that happened when we're shooting, 10 locations in one building, all the acting studio stuff. And it was a tough day. It must have been 17 hours. Yeah. And we're following union rules, so we did second meal and all that stuff. But that doesn't always matter. You know?
And sometimes you just have to make a decision, and like, not to say like you should always have everybody drunk on set, but to break things up and like to just make the smiles come back.
Exactly. And to realize that we all are in this together, and we're all having fun.
Because what's the point if you're not having fun? Like, there's other jobs that are hard that you could do. Like,
exactly.
This should be a fun job.
And it happens a lot. I mean, we've all seen the YouTube videos. There's a lot of screaming and fighting on sets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It becomes a little family.
Yeah, it becomes a family, and very high stress and personalities and all that stuff. So we only had one day where it was tough, but never bad. Yeah. And we lucked out 3.5 weeks, and we all lived.
Oh, 3.5 weeks to shoot an entire season of Acting Dead. I love it. So before we wrap up, do you have any advice for current or aspiring filmmakers?
Yeah, and you and I talk about this all the time, but as I just had a big birthday, 29.
Yeah.
Yay! You have to have your life in order, because life is going to knock you down in anything that you do. You know what I mean? And so, and especially with showbiz or creating your own content and all that stuff, you just need to be organized, Make your friggin' bed. Yeah. Have, exercise, eat right, because all that stuff will start to eat you alive. You know what I mean? And you won't be able to concentrate on the important stuff. Yes. You'll find yourself not being able to do this because you've got this. And like, it's a balancing act, it's spinning plates to saber dance.
I've definitely had like other people mention this, that it's, you owe it to yourself
Yeah.
to stay organized and take care of your body and take care of your personal things so you can have the room to create.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole mental desk thing, you know, like keep your house clean, because eventually you will not be able to concentrate and focus on what you need to focus on, or multitask, as you and I both do. Other than that, I mean, just, learn to type.
Can you type,
drive
please?
for Uber. No, you just need to like really be creative, be a good guy. I know that you'll get a lot of work and a lot of recommendations and a lot of praise from being someone that other people want to work with, and it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, because you just want to lash out or be snide or whatever, you know what I mean? So
But like being a good person gets you so far.
it's huge. It's huge because, there's enough of those other kinds of people in the business. And
and
as
it's
you
not to be fake. That's just like, just
Not at
generally be
all.
good because
Just-
everybody's stressed.
Right. We have to do a lot of this stuff in the business where the networking and all that stuff. And it's since I was in high school when I didn't want to go against the grain of what I believed in and all that stuff. It was always important to me to find things about people that I enjoyed, even in a situation where I was unhappy. So you can always be true to yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
hoity-toity and, whatever. But I think it's important. I think you just need to be happy with what you're doing and constantly reinvent yourself.
Gotcha.
Like Madonna.
Okay. That's very nice. Very nice. Awesome. Well, thank you for all of that
Thanks.
advice. It was fabulous talking with you today about acting dead and all the on-the-fly scenarios that happen. Let everybody know again where they can find you on social media and where to find Acting Dead.
Great. So it's Twitter at Brian Beacock and Instagram at Brian Beacock. Acting Dead is actingdead.com and Twitter at Acting Dead. Hashtag FYC.
Yes, please go watch Acting Dead at actingdead.com. Hashtag FYC at the Emmys.
Yeah, at the
Hopefully we can
Emmys.
get there. It would be fabulous.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Remember to tweet at me if you guys are interested in winning a awesome Acting Dead hat. And watch the show. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below. And we will see you next time on the Fly Filmmaking.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.